Welcome to Kermode Uncut, where I'm continuing to round up my best and worst films released in UK cinemas in 2017. A couple of blogs ago, I did number 10 to number 6 of my favourite films so far. Here are numbers 5 to 1. So, at number 5, Sean Baker's The Florida Project, a really brilliant film that manages to find beauty in very harsh surroundings. The story is about a mother and daughter living in a rundown hotel beyond the boundaries of the glamorous Disney World resorts. It's one of those East of Eden tales. But it also sees its world from a child's eye perspective. Sean Baker, the director who did such a brilliant job with Tangerine, says that it's a modern-day R-gang, and it is. It's vibrant and beautiful. Yes, it deals with tough social issues. Yes, it's absolutely a film which is rooted in reality, but it also has its head in the stars, and it has some fantastic performances.
I failed as a mother, Moni.
Yeah, Mom, you're a disgrace.
On to number 4, and the second animated feature to make my list of the top 10 movies released in UK cinemas in 2017. Michael Dudoktovic's The Red Turtle is a real heartbreaker. One of the highlights of the year for me was, having seen this film, I managed to do an on-stage interview with Michael Dudoktovic at a regular show that I do at the BFI South Bank. And he was everything you'd want from somebody who had made a film that generous and beautiful. He was understated, he was fantastically humble, he was somebody who spoke in a gentle, engaging way. The film itself is just superb. It casts back to the universality of the silent era. It's a film that doesn't involve words or speech, although it does have sound. But it's a story about a man stranded on a desert island that then becomes something mythical, about life and death itself. I'm sure many of you have already seen it, but if you haven't, check out The Red Turtles as soon as you can. It is just a miraculous piece of work. So we're into the top 3 now, and I have to confess that I had real trouble ordering this top 3. I mean, to be honest, any one of these could have stood out as my favourite film of the year. However, at number 3 in my list of the top 10 films released in UK cinemas in 2017, Hope Dixon-Leach's long-awaited feature debut, The Levelling. Hope Dixon-Leach was singled out as a star of tomorrow way back in 2007, and it took her a decade to get this feature made and distributed. But it was really worth the wait. It's a story about family estrangement with some great performances, David Troughton and Ellie Kendrick. It's set against a post-Diluvian backdrop of flooded Somerset. And it's a film which has a style and a character all of its own. It has texture. You can feel the earth, you can feel the rain, you can feel the environment of the film. It really, really stands up to repeat viewing, and I cannot wait to see what Hope Dixon-Leach does next. Which brings us to the top 2, and again, I really, really struggled about ordering these two, but at number 2, Barry Jenkins' Moonlight. Now, I know it seems like ages ago. It came out at the beginning of the year. It was the centre of that ridiculous Oscar debacle when it was announced that La La Land had won Best Film, and they realised that it hadn't, that Moonlight had, which was the right decision. It's one of the very few times that Oscars have actually got it right. You have to put all that aside to really appreciate what a great film Moonlight is. I saw Moonlight before it was a big awards contender, when it was just this strange independent film that there was an awful lot of buzz about. I loved the way it told its story. I loved how sensual it was. I loved the way it used music. I loved the way it looked. Again, it was a story that found great beauty in tough surroundings. It was clearly the best picture competing at the Oscars, and it's great that it managed to win the Best Picture award, albeit amidst that fiasco. But away from all that, it's a film that will endure, that has its own life beyond the awards ceremonies. It's just a beautiful work of art by a brilliant filmmaker at the top of his game.
I ain't seen you in like a decade. It's not what I expected.
Well, what did you expect?
Which brings us to the number 1 spot, the film which surprised and startled me the most this year. The film about which I knew very little when I first saw it, but which really sunk its teeth into me. My number 1 film released in UK cinemas in 2017 is Julia Ducournau's feature debut, Raw, a film that uses cannibalism to tell its story about sibling rivalry and growing pains. Now, I think 2017 has been a brilliant year for horror. We've had Andy Muschietti's It, which was a runaway box office success. We've had Get Out, which I spoke about earlier, which is a horror, chiller, social satire. We've had loads and loads of really interesting films like Darren Aronofsky's Mother, drawing on horror. But Raw is something different. Raw is something new. Raw is something which really stands out and announces the arrival of a major talent. I love it. There are moments in it that I flinched. There are moments in it that I laughed. There are moments in it that I gasped. It's just a brilliant film, and great to see something that came completely out of nowhere as far as I was concerned and just knocked everything else out of the ballpark. My favourite film of 2017 is Raw. So, just to recap, my top 10 films released in UK cinemas in 2017. At joint number 10, In Between and Paddington 2. Number 9, Get Out. At 8, Blade Runner. Tony Erdmann at 7. At 6, My Life as a Courgette. 5, The Florida Project. At number 4, The Red Turtle. In at 3, The Leveling. At 2, Barry Jenkins' Moonlight. And at number 1, Julia Ducournau's Raw. Tune in for the next Kermode Uncut, in which I'll do 5 to 1 of the worst films released in UK cinemas in 2017.